The avoidant operated with a fundamental assumption that access to you was permanent. No matter how poorly they behaved, no matter how many times they disappeared, no matter how much distance they created, they believed you would always be there when they decided to return. This assumption was not conscious arrogance, but rather unconscious entitlement, built on years of people tolerating their patterns without real consequence. But now, something has shifted that the avoidant never prepared for. The access is gone, not temporarily unavailable, not playing hard to get, actually permanently closed. And the avoidant is experiencing genuine shock that is forcing them to confront a reality they never believed possible, the door that will not reopen. The avoidant keeps testing whether the boundary is real. They send casual messages expecting your usual response. They reach out through indirect channels, hoping to reestablish contact. They create situations where you might run into each other, anticipating that proximity will restore the connection. But nothing works. Every attempt is met with polite distance or complete silence. The door they walked through so casually, the one they assumed would always swing back open, is locked. This is not you playing games or making them work harder for your attention. This is genuine boundary setting that has permanently altered the terms of engagement. The shock comes from realizing that all the times they took you for granted, all the moments they assumed you would wait, have accumulated into a finality they cannot manipulate their way out of. They cannot believe you actually meant it. When you told the avoidant you were done, they did not take it seriously. They had heard versions of this before, and it never stuck. People always came back. Boundaries always softened. Anger always faded into forgiveness. So when you said you were moving on, they mentally filed it as temporary frustration that would eventually dissolve, like it always had. But time is passing, and you are not softening. Your resolve is not weakening. Your boundary is not negotiable. The avoidant is in shock because they genuinely did not believe you meant it. They thought your attachment to them was strong enough to override your self-respect. They assumed that despite everything, you needed them more than you needed peace. The shock is the collision between what they assumed and what is actually happening. You meant it. You are done. And no amount of their usual tactics is changing that reality. The replacement they cannot find. Part of what shocks the avoidant is their inability to replace what you offered. They assumed that losing access to you would be inconvenient, but not catastrophic, because plenty of other people could provide what you provided. But they are discovering this assumption was completely wrong. No one offers your specific combination of patience, understanding, and boundaries. No one creates the particular feeling of safety you provided. No one tolerates their patterns with your level of grace while still maintaining self-respect. The shock intensifies as they cycle through new connections and find each one lacking. You were not generic or easily replicated. You were specific and irreplaceable, and they are only realizing this now, that you are inaccessible. They thought they held all the power. The avoidance shock is rooted in the collapse of their perceived power dynamic. They believed they were the one with options, the one being pursued, the one who could dictate the terms. This belief allowed them to be careless with you, to prioritize their comfort over your needs, to assume you would accept whatever they offered. But losing access has revealed that the power was never where they thought it was. You held the ultimate power all along, the power to walk away, the power to close the door, the power to choose yourself over someone who could not choose you. The avoidant is shocked because they based their entire relational strategy on an assumption of power that turned out to be illusion. You were not powerless. You were choosing to stay, and the moment you chose differently, their perceived control evaporated completely. The permanence they cannot accept. What shocks the avoidant most profoundly is the permanence of losing access to you. They are accustomed to relationships having an elastic quality, where distance can always be closed, where time apart can always be reconciled, where doors can always be reopened. But you have created something they have never encountered, a truly final ending. There is no negotiation. There is no slow fade back into contact. There is no ambiguity they can exploit. You are simply gone in all the ways that matter. The avoidant keeps waiting for the moment when this changes, when you soften, when access is restored. But that moment is not coming. The shock is transforming into the slow, devastating recognition that they destroyed something they can never get back, that their patterns finally met consequences they cannot undo, that the access they took for granted is permanently revoked, and that the person they lost was their own doing.